It doesn't take many rides for a bike to become a filthy mess. What with dirt, energy drinks, mud, sweat. And it's nicer, more fun even, riding a nice clean bike. So I'm gonna wash this bike, and I've got a secret weapon, new professional brush set from Park Tool. It should make the job even easier. Won't take very long. It's something I recommend you do on a regular basis because it's much easier to keep a clean bike clean. What I mean by keep a new bike clean is that if you wash it on a regular basis and keep it clean, it's never going to get so dirty that cleaning it is going to be an awful job. It's going to be relatively easy to clean it with soap and water relatively quick because mostly you'll be cleaning off dust and dirt instead of dealing with grime and real greasy stuff that happens over a long period of riding the bike. So if you keep it clean on a regular basis, it'll be really easy to keep it clean for the long haul. You want to clean a bike when it's standing upright like this. You don't want to lay it down on its side because if you lay it down on its side, the water can get down inside the bearings of the bike. The bearings are in the hubs, the crank or the bottom bracket area, the pedals, and you don't want water going that way. All the water we're going to direct on the bike is going to be pretty much from the top. And we never use high pressure water. We just use dribbling water like out of a hose that I have here. To keep the bike upright, you can lean it against something. You don't need a repair stand, but a repair stand makes it easy because it'll hold the bike up and we'll be able to spin the wheels, which makes it quicker to clean them. You'll see how I do that. I don't remove the wheels because for this quick cleaning, you don't need to remove them. We can use the brushes to get in between the wheels and the frame. Washing a bike is kind of like washing a car. You get yourself a bucket and you get yourself some liquid detergent, soap, dishwashing detergent. I like Dawn. This cuts grease really well. And you put quite a bit of this into some very hot water in a bucket. And then I have the repair stand that I pointed out before to hold the bike up. This is a great tool, makes things easier. It does come at an expense, but it's worth it in my opinion, especially if you get into a routine of cleaning your bike on a regular basis. I'm going to use a hose. If you didn't have a hose, you could have a spray bottle, something like this. You could also use a water bottle off your bike, which doesn't hold a whole lot of water, but you can squirt the water bottle and use that too. We're basically going to wash the bike with soap and water, and then we're going to rinse it off, and then we can dry it off if we need to. You can also just bounce the tires gently and shake off the water. I have a brush kit from Park Tool, their newest brush kit. It comes with a sponge. These 3 brushes are for brushing the bike. This brush is a chain and a crank greasy parts brush. I have another little brush that I'll show you that's for getting between the cogs when we get to that. And the nice sponge. The sponge is really good for soaping up the bike and wiping down the frame, anything with paint, anything with a finish. That's about all it takes to clean a bike. And you can make do with whatever you have if you don't have all this stuff. You could just use a sponge and a bucket, or you could just use the hose and anything that can hold soap and moisture that you can squeeze and drip on the frame and wipe off the grit and grime. You don't need a lot of fancy stuff, but if you do it on a regular basis, having these tools will make it quicker and easier. You could wash a bike in less than 15 minutes. If you did it after every time the bike got dirty, say every 10 days or 2 weeks, depending on how much you ride, you'd end up with a nice clean bike, and a clean bike runs better and lasts longer because there's no grit or dirt to wear components out. Okay, we can start washing the bike. First thing I'm going to do is take off any electronics on the bike. You know, modern electronics are pretty good, but still, let's not risk getting them all wet and messing them up. So I'll take my lights off. And before I put the bike in the repair stand, I'm going to clean off the seat post because the seat post grit will get on the jaws of the repair stand and it could scratch up the seat post. So I'll wash off the seat post with a little water. And if your repair stand was old or dirty, it'd be a good idea to wash that too, but we don't need to do that because this repair stand is pretty new and pretty clean. So now we'll put the bike in the repair stand. And we're pretty much ready to start cleaning with the bike and the repair stand. Except I have to put a lot of soap in the water and create a bunch of soap suds. There you go. And get some rubber gloves. These are also by Park Tool. I'm going to remove the water bottles, make it easier to clean around the cages. Found a piece of grass back there, I'll get rid of that. And then I want to loosen up the dirt on the bike. But to do that, just get some water on the bike. Just dribble the water from the top, get it on the tires, get it on the wheels, and the hubs, get it on the crankset. Just by doing that, the bike starts to get cleaner, of course. Not high pressure, it's just dribbling out of the hose. Now that I've got everything wet, I can take the brush and soap everything up. Stand on one side of the bike, as you can see everything on that side. Be sure to get underneath the tubes. I could actually flip the bike upside down, but I'd rather not do that. I don't want the water to go anywhere except from the top down. These new brushes from Park Tool resist grease, so they won't get all greasy. They have special bristles for that. I'm not going to get into anything that might have some grease or oil on it because I don't want to spread that to the rest of the bike. I was just on the outside of the crank arm there. You can do the wheels same way. You can get the tread. I'm working from the right side now. In a second I'll go to the other side of the bike. I'll turn the bike around so you can see it. The bright sun like this, it's going to dry as fast as I get it wet, so better to do this on a foggy day. If you have more time, it would stay wet longer, but you just keep getting it wet. So now I'm going to flip the bike around. Don't worry about the disc brakes. The water and the soap won't hurt it at all. Get the other side of the rim, the wheel. Work on the tire tread some more. I don't spend a lot of time cleaning the shift levers. There's stuff inside those. There's grease way inside. I try to avoid stripping any lubrication because I want that to stay in there. So I sort of stay away from that area. It's pretty well sealed anyway. As you do this, you look closely at the bike. Because you can miss areas pretty easily, like in here behind the seat tube, down here. And it's pretty common to forget to get underneath things. And that's where a lot of goop sticks underneath. Around the bottle cages. A brush is good for that. A brush bristles knock it off. Now, I like to take a little sponge like this, like a kitchen sponge or bathroom sponge, and go between the spoke holes. It only takes a second, and it makes sure that you get the grit around the spoke nipples clean, so that the wheels are really clean when you get done. You go around like that, and the same thing on the front wheel. And you can also take this And you can get the spokes. You just go around and do each spoke. A lot of the flat spokes pick up grit, even the round ones do. But the flat, there's like more surface area, it seems like, to get the grit. So you could just go around and you, one spoke at a time. Takes a little time, but it will make a difference when you get done to have the spokes as clean as the rest of the bike. You can reach through like I'm doing on the front wheel here and get every spoke, but on each side of the wheel. Started at the valve stem and I come back to the valve stem. Now, there's nice brushes like this brush, which will fit in between the frame and let you get in places like this to clean between the hubs. You can also use it to get in here like this. You get areas where dirt gets trapped and it's kind of hard to get it out of there, but if you have a brush like this, you can get in there. And we'll do the same thing on the front wheel. You can also use this brush in areas like this where you can't really see. And you can get in just tight spots that are, see, I found a whole bunch of junk right there in here. You can go down here too. So you just take your time. Or if you're in a hurry, you can do it in a hurry, because it doesn't really, might not get it perfectly clean, but you'll make a huge difference even if you do this, the fastest version of this cleaning job. We also have a big brush like this that's good for fitting in some of these places because it's bigger. You'll get used to the tools that you have and figure out the best ways to use them. Turn the water back on. Or if you didn't have a hose, this is where you could use your water bottle and you could clean it that way. If all you had was a water bottle, or if you had a spray bottle, that'll work fine too. You're just trying to get the soap off. With it, all the dirt will come off. See, it's not much pressure at all. As you rinse it, you look at it. If you see there's any more dirt you want to get off, you can go over it one more time. It's satisfying as it gets clean again. We're in the bright sun, so what I said at the beginning was that you can take the bike out and you can bounce it up and down a few times. Spin the wheels a little bit, not too fast. Then bounce it up and down a little bit. You can get a lot of the water off the bike, the drips off the bike. This bike has a matte finish. It's like a flat paint finish, so it's gonna get water spots. But if I wipe it off, it'll be fine. But I'm just gonna let it sun dry because I wanna show you the last part that I usually do is to check the drivetrain. I don't run a thick grease on most of my bikes. I use a lot of wax-based lubes, so it doesn't tend to cake up or build up. And I try to just lube when it needs it, when the old lube is worn out. So there isn't a lot of excess lube on there. But to clean a chain like this, which isn't very dirty, and to clean the areas of the bike where it can build up a little bit, I have two brushes. There's this new brush that came with the kit, and then there's the Park brush that they've had for a long time, which is this little guy. This brush is really good for the cassette back here. And this brush, well, they both work good for poking in here and getting at the teeth and getting things clean. And to do that, you can just use soap and water, soap suds, and you can come in here and you just poke at it and knock any grit and grime off the teeth. You can get, while you're here, you can get the pedal axle if it bothers you that and you can just work at it like this. And these things are stiff, so they poke off the. While you're here, you can check the front derailleur, clean around that. And because there's two sides to these teeth, you can go in here and brush as you pedal backwards and clean it off that way too. Now, I said at the outset, your goal, or the easiest way you could keep your bike clean, is to keep it clean. In other words, don't let it get so bad that when it comes time to clean it, there's gobs of gunk and grease on here. If it gets to that point, it's not going to be as easy to clean it. But if you keep it clean, maybe you clean it after every third ride or something, as long as you don't ride out in the mud every day. If you do, you're going to want to clean it probably after every ride. Here you can also get down inside and get any grit that you see around the bearing. We'll let that sit a little bit, the soap and everything. Now use the other brush. This is a nice brush here. This brush has this feature. See the tooth side of the feature, the tooth side of this tool? You can go in here, and if you got dirt in there, you can knock it out. I don't have any, but if you did, like a chunk of something in there, like a stick or mud or whatever, you can push it out with this guy. And this is also good for coming in and brushing like this. Now, there can be gunk on here, like chunks of grime and grease, and these bristles will fling it back on your bike. So you work a little carefully, you beware of that. You could also clean the drivetrain first if you want to avoid that, but my drivetrain's usually not that dirty. And by doing it at the end, I avoid picking up a brush that has grease on it by mistake and transferring that to the bike. I don't care if the cassette is shiny, bright, looks like new, because it's never going to stay like that, because I'm going to lubricate the chain as soon as I finish cleaning the bike. And a good way to clean a chain is to have a sponge for it, and you can fold the sponge over the chain, and then you can pedal. See, I'm holding it on top of it, and then I can hold it so that the side's coming through too. I personally don't like to use degreasers, heavy degreasers on the chain and the cassette, because if you use a heavy degreaser on these things, you can strip all the lube out, and the lube that's important is way down deep inside the chain, and if you strip it all out, it's hard to get it back in where you want it. So I like to just keep the lube going that's already there. I don't usually strip a chain completely. More often, if a chain gets that bad, I'll just put on a new chain. Now there's one more thing, it can be a messy job sometimes, and that's the derailleur pulleys, which are these little toothed wheels down here. The teeth on this are good. You could turn the pulley and scrape the grease off if it's bad. See it coming off? Then you get a big glob of grease. Pick it up and throw it away so it doesn't make a big stain in your driveway. And we'll get the other side. That's fun to fix that. So that was dirty, so I'll get some more soap and it is one of the hardest working parts on the bike, just getting around the derailleur too. Now I'm going to rinse it off one more time. But you can keep applying the soap. So if you felt that you wanted to get it cleaner, the more you put soap on, the more you go at it with the brush, the cleaner and cleaner it'll get. If you have a nasty deposit of grease, or like I don't like right around that pedal there, so I could spend just a little more and I might get it a little cleaner. Or if I was looking in here and I thought it should be cleaner, keep applying soap. Just spend a little more time. And if you decide that when you're cleaning your bike it's too hard to clean it, almost always means you just need to clean it more frequently. So we'll rinse to show you the final steps. If you do ride in the rain, mud, off-road a lot, there's one more thing you probably want to do, which is take this guy and clean up underneath your seat. Because that's a place a lot of this stuff goes. It gets kicked up. You'll never see it. You might not even know it's there. But why carry around another 3 ounces of dirt when you could have a super light bike? So if you have an old t-shirt, like I do, goes along with the bike. They're a good thing to dry the bike with. You're just going to get the drips off, chase the water down, just follow wherever it's dripping. I just make sure it doesn't end up with water spots all over it. I do the frame first, even though I didn't spend a lot of time. It's significantly cleaner than it was before, which it should be because it's not a very old bike. And I have only ridden a few thousand miles on it. Just don't forget the bottom of the tubes, in between things. If you see something you don't like, it's not as clean as you want it, just clean it some more. Get the bottle cages, go between the fork blade and the wheels, and just get it as dry as you can. To get the wheels, I use a similar approach to how I did it with the sponge in between the spokes. I like to go like this. Right now I'm getting the side of the rim and the side of the tire at the same time. I do that on both sides. You can go in here too and get inside the hub. It's nice when you're riding along, you look down, the hubs are nice and clean. And you'd repeat that on the back. Same thing. It's a good time when you're drying a bike like this, you can look at things closely. Like if you have really old wheels on your bike, you could look real close at the spoke nipples right here at the rim. If you have some issues like a click or a creak or something, sometimes that's the issue. A nipple might be pulling through the rim. I hope you don't run into that, but when you're cleaning, that's when you can spot things like that. I just let the rotors air dry. I don't touch them. I don't know if my rag picked up anything. I don't want to get the rotors dirty. The soap and the water will dry and it's been rinsed, so it'll be fine. Then, to clean the chain, to finish the cleaning of the chain, the greasy parts, you can use your rag. You know, it's a sacrificial rag. We're not going to dry anymore with it. So you could spin the chain through the rag and it'll pick up the grease. Any remaining grease, just squeeze it. You keep looking at it and it'll get cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. You could do the same thing with the pulleys. You reach in here and get the last bits of any last bits of grit off the pulleys. Finally, if you want to clean your cassette, get the cogs as shiny as you can. You have a little WD-40. That's a good cleaner. It's also a lube, but it's a very thin lube. You could spray a little on a rag. The hem of the t-shirt works good. And you can actually use a shoe shine motion on the cogs like this and spend as much time as you want on them. This is easier if you take the wheel off, but like I said, there's really no need to take the wheel off. And if you spend a little time like this, let it go around all the way, you can get the cassette as clean as you want it. So that's the basic procedure for cleaning a bike. My goal here wasn't to get my bike spotless. My goal here was to show you how to clean your bike on a regular basis to make it easier to clean. I'd be really interested in what tips you have for cleaning your bike. The coolest one I ever saw was my friend actually had the plumber install a hot water hose. So he has a bucket with all his cleaning kits in it that he puts on the side of his garage. When he comes home after a ride, almost every ride this guy does this, he has hot water coming out of the hose and he spends 5 minutes, 10 minutes cleaning off his bike. That guy has the cleanest bike you ever saw. So that's a good tip. Let me know your tips. I'd like to hear how you do things, and it'll help other viewers learn how to fix their bike. Your tips and tricks could be really interesting. Thanks a lot for watching another video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.